Thank you for tuning into the Secure Your Energy Show. My name is Michael Gibson, and we have a great guest planned for you today. Secure Your Energy shows where we have real live conversation with real life people. And today we are honored to have a very special partner with Fortress Power by way of SolArk. His name is Dylan Rutt. I'm going to bring him on the screen and I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. Hey, Dylan.
Yeah, hi, Michael. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so my name's Dylan Rupp, solar engineer here with SolArk. Been with our team for about a year at this point. Been a really exciting time for our company, rapidly growing, facing a lot of new interesting challenges and coming up with solutions for those things. But just really excited to be here and discuss securing your energy.
Thank you for jumping on here today. Forgive some of the technical mishaps. That's the wonderful thing about live media. You always have an opportunity to have what I would like to call special things happen. But SolArk is one of our partners that we partner with. We are the battery manufacturer. SolArk uh, makes hybrid inverters. And what we wanted to talk about today, we wanted to ask the $50 million question that everyone asks me. So since I have Dylan on the line, I'm going to ask him this question. Here it is. How long has SolArk been around? I know Fortress, just for those that don't know, we've been around for approximately 5 years. We've been, doing this renewable energy space, and SolArk is one of our valued partners. But this is a question that I get asked all the time, and I'm like, I actually don't work for SolArk. So here's an opportunity for SolArk to tell us how long have they been around.
Yeah, yeah. So we actually predate Fortress by a few years. Our company was started in 2013, so a little bit more than 8 years at this point. We've been in this industry. Originally started manufacturing a very niche product, a 3 kilowatt EMP hardened inverter for off-grid customers who are concerned with an EMP type of event taking down their electric system. Since that time, about 2015, 2016 timeframe, we developed our 8K unit, which is still a model that we sell today. We did retire that 3K inverter, and we've continued to build on that 8K with a 12K model, innovated in the last couple of years. And then here in the near future, we are excited to announce a number of pretty exciting products. But 8 years we have been around, so we're not new at this, and we certainly plan to be here for the long term.
Now, where are you guys based out of? Where is home base for SolArk?
Yeah, we're based out of Parker, Texas, which is a small suburb just northeast of Dallas. About a 35 to 40-minute drive if you were to sit through the traffic that you would face up here in Dallas.
Now, you mentioned a big word, EMP. I know what that is, but can you just elaborate? Someone wants to know what EMP means.
Yeah,
What?
absolutely.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michael. Yeah, so EMP stands for electromagnetic pulse. It is a surge of energy that you would experience via the wires connected to your home if there were to be some type of mass energy output near your home. Those can be things like certainly a nuclear blast would cause one. Solar flares have also caused them a number of times throughout our country's history, even looking back through different data and records. But it's a surge of electricity that will damage any unprotected equipment in your home or on the electric grid. So certainly has a high potential to take down the grid if you don't have protection, and will damage any electrical components in your home. So things like appliances, your meter, those will all be damaged, and you would be without electricity if you do not have EMP protection.
Wow, that's good stuff right there. Now, when it comes to the AMP, you said you had the 3K KW, then you went out. You have the 8KW, that's a popular one, and you have a 12KW. But before I go down with the KW, kilowatt hours, for those that are watching may not understand, can you explain to our audience what is a hybrid inverter? What is that?
Yeah, so I guess to discuss a hybrid inverter, it's beneficial to start out discussing what it would take to have a solar plus storage backup type of system on a home without a hybrid inverter. So in that instance, you would first have a solar inverter, which would enable you to bring in DC power from your solar panels, convert that power to AC power that your home uses. That DC power, of course, from your panels is coming in at a certain voltage. You would then also have for your batteries a charge controller inverter combination that would take the power from your batteries, convert that DC power to AC power for home usage. So a hybrid inverter has taken that equipment and combined it all into a single inverter. So with our hybrid inverter, for example, you can tie in both solar panels and a battery into a single box, integrate that equipment directly to your home's electrical system to bring in and deliver power to your home off of either solar or batteries intelligently, depending on the conditions around your home and your power usage at any given point in time.
So let me ask this question. So when someone is purchasing SolArk hybrid inverter, you say you're combining that system all in one. What does that do to the cost? Not looking for a price, but to the cost, because I would think in my mind, if I was buying two separate components, then your cost on your device may look a little bit higher. But how do you overcome that in the market when someone's trying to compare what you offer versus what someone else is offering?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a little bit cheaper if you do compare. You know, first it's the education piece. It's having a homeowner or interested customer understand what are all the components that are necessary to install the type of system that you're after, and understand that, okay, all of those components, you can go buy them individually and install them for one price, or you can buy our inverter, get it all in one package and install it. And it's not only the cost of the equipment that we try to have the homeowner understand that they're going to be incurring. It's the cost of the time if they're doing it themselves, or the cost of the labor and the complexity of installing and integrating multiple different pieces of equipment with a more traditional system, as opposed to with our inverter, our hybrid inverter, where you buy the one piece of equipment, you wire everything up in that one box. It's all the integration is done under the hood, if you will, in that inverter already. So the installation becomes extremely easy. And just kind of anecdotally, you know, we have a number of installers who have been in this business for a number of years, have done the more traditional system. And what we always hear is the first time they install the SolArk, they say, I'm never going back to the way that we used to do things with the traditional charge controller inverter setup, because it was so complex. It took so much time, so much pre-planning to accomplish. With your inverter, we bolt it up on the wall, we terminate our wires from our PV and our batteries, make our connection to our AC system, and you're done. So it's not only the cost of the equipment, it's the cost of the labor and the complexity that you incur if you don't go with an integrated hybrid solution.
So integrated hybrid battery inverter, hybrid inverter, it may appear to be more upfront, but in reality, because you're getting an all-in-one complete system, you truly have the labor savings and ease of install in terms of one, space, because space is a commodity because you have everything
Absolutely.
in one. Then you have the labor savings. Now, not going too deep into the nitty-gritty details, in your inverter, your hybrid package, I know that there's a generator lead, there's a load lead. What are all the components that make it so easy to integrate this into a system and makes it an easy install? Can you kind of just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you've already identified a couple of the inputs on the AC side of the system. So really, when you look at the system, I like to kind of divvy it into two halves. You've got your DC half and your AC half. So I'm going to start with the AC just because you already kind of led into that. On that side, we've got realistically three inputs. We call them inputs. Realistically, they can all act as both an input or a power output. You have and they are named according to what is most commonly connected at those inputs. Now, I say that it's most commonly input because they're all very versatile, and you can do some different things to massage the system to accomplish whatever end use you are after. So we have that grid input, where you'll terminate your grid connection most commonly. That is a bidirectional input, so you can certainly bring in grid power to help complement any power needs that you have in your home that you're not able to deliver with solar and or battery. You can also pass power out of that input to sell back any excess power to the grid. You have a generator input where you can pass power from a generator to help complement the grid and the batteries that you already have connected to the system to go ahead and charge up batteries if you're in a multiple cloudy days type of situation and you're not able to charge using PV. And then you've got your load output, and that load output will allow you to deliver power to a load center regardless of grid availability or not, which is kind of the main crux of the system, if you will, because a lot of traditional inverters, of course, if you lose grid connection, you cannot deliver any power to the loads in your home. So that load output is a critical piece where we allow the system to deliver AC power despite the grid being down. Now, on the DC side, you have batteries and PV inputs, very easy to integrate. It's literally just landing a couple of wires. On the PV side, we have given the ability to connect up to 4 strings. So the inverter is very versatile with the amount of power you can go ahead and connect to it. And it just makes sizing a system extremely easy, gives you a lot of versatility there.
When we work with a SolArk inverter, we essentially have the ability to be in an AC coupled solution and a DC coupled solution. So if someone doesn't
Correct.
have the grid utility, your inverter is essentially doing the automatic transfer switching from
Mm-hmm.
one thing to another. So it's a nice package. Now, we mentioned inverter sizes when we first got started, the 8 kW, the 12
That's right.
kW. The 12 kW pairs real nice with this thing over this shoulder right here. Works real nice with that
Absolutely.
eVault battery, now the eVault Max. But I noticed that you guys have another battery, another inverter in the
Mm-hmm.
line. So the $100 million question, maybe not $100 million question, but one of the questions that I get constantly now is why the 5 kW inverter, considering that the 8 kW and the 12 kW seem to meet a lot of the needs of the consumer. What was the
Mm-hmm.
thought process behind this 5 kW inverter?
Yeah, absolutely. So our business, a lot of our business is done here in the US, but we also do a ton of business on islands, places like Hawaii and Puerto Rico, where grids are a little bit more unstable. Having an inverter that can function both on grid and off grid in that type of situation is extremely valuable. So, typically the American consumer, that 8K or that 12K, they're always looking for more power. So those models work extremely well integrating with an American home. On the flip side of that, Puerto Rico, they don't quite have as large of homes as we have. They don't have the energy consumption patterns that we have here in the US or in Canada. So they constantly were asking us for a smaller inverter solution in response to the demand from that market. And something that you'll kind of find out about SolArk as you work with us, and hopefully, Michael, you've seen this, is we really listen to our customers. We try to meet the needs that they have. But in response to that demand for a smaller inverter, we developed the 5K inverter as a solution for that Puerto Rican market. And then kind of as an added bonus there, we are starting to see some customers in the US who maybe have small hunting cabins or are looking to add an inverter to a mobile solution like an RV that have started to pick up this 5K inverter and install that in those locations as well.
So the 5 kW inverter is allowing you to go into more markets than you have been able to be in, and it's a more, I guess, affordable price
Mm-hmm.
point because it's a smaller kW. And I'm same boat with you. We are an international company, and we're looking to work with many partners in many parts of the globe. And having
Mm-hmm.
that 5 kW, that seems to be the size that I see a lot in some of these more non-American U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Canada places. I know in Africa specifically, there's a lot of questions for a 5 kW size system. Really, a 10 kW energy storage system with a 5 kW battery seems to be the big popular size. Now, given that you have the 12 kW, you have the 8 kW, now you have the 5 kW, you had an EMP thing, and now you want to ask, well, what markets do you primarily serve as SolArk? What are you
Mm-hmm.
looking as a customer? what is the ideal place for you to be in, or are you just able to go into many different places?
Yeah, so the versatility of our inverter really does enable us to work in just about any market that you do have available. So certainly, we've developed solutions there that have enabled us to be a very effective solution for places like California, where they have pretty significant peak rates, where they have time of use type of rate structures that make it, extremely valuable to be able to store your solar power and deliver it to your home during different periods of the day than when solar is typically available. The flip side of that is the hybrid nature of our inverter, the ability to go on grid, off grid, makes this an extremely useful solution for those communities that don't have as stable of a grid. So island communities, we sell a lot of systems out in those island communities. And then certainly as you're kind of seeing more instability just elsewhere in the country, places like our great state of Texas here with the freeze this winter, or kind of as I saw up in the Northwest here recently with the extreme heat wave, having that battery backup, but just kind of serving the purpose of being a backup only if you have an extended outage, has become more and more valuable in those locations. So the versatility of our inverter, the ability to meet a number of use cases, really enables us to work in just about any market here in the Western Hemisphere. And that's typically where you'll see our inverter is in the Americas and the Caribbean.
So, like Fortress, SolArk is what we call battery agnostic, and Fortress is inverter agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's there's a lot of benefits to that because it allows you to partner with many different solutions, and also being that, as you stated, AC coupled, DC coupled, and now you have the range. You can play in multiple markets and makes you a more
Mm-hmm.
formidable, you know, person. Now, here's a question that I want to say that I get asked. So I like to ask everybody the same question that everyone asks me. How is it important is it to know your load profile when selecting an inverter? The number one question that I get on many of the leads from like our websites, one always says, "My house is this big. Tell me what size do I need?"
Yep.
And I
Yep.
know that not to be a true statement because house size is not, a
Oh, sure.
prerequisite for, what we would consider backup or time of use or things of that
Mm-hmm.
nature. How
Mm-hmm.
important is that? Can you explain that to the viewing audience?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna give a bit of a lawyer answer here and say it depends, of course, right? So, and the reason I say that is because in some instances it's absolutely critical, right? If you're a customer who says, I want to go off grid, I want to completely offset my utility usage, then you have to know that load profile very intimately and know exactly what you're using, not only how much you're typically using, but also what do those peaks look like? Because, the inverter can certainly deliver a continuous wattage of power. It can also meet certain peak demands, but what you'll see is if you have a huge AC unit, it's very taxing on an inverter to go ahead and start up that type of equipment. So you need to understand those types of things before you do make the commitment to try to be totally off grid or to totally offset your utility bill down to $0, which you can do with our system. I have a lot of customers doing just that. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're somebody who says, hey, I only want to use solar to offset some of my electric bill, and I'm really just trying to do it because I want to be more green with most of my electric consumption, but I'm still going to have the grid available. I still am okay with pulling in grid power to meet my demand. It's not as important there, and you can kind of do a pretty quick back of the envelope calculation there to say, okay, this is kind of your optimum size where you'll have the most financial benefit, but then also for most of our customers that are looking for that backup, still have that backup available for some of the appliances in your home, a limited subset, but some of the appliances in your home that you're looking to back up if the grid were to go down.
When it comes to grid down opportunities, or when it comes to backing up, you mentioned a very important load, at least in the territory that I primarily cover, which is the eastern half of the United States, and Florida is a very big market.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you're dealing with those type of loads, typically, are you guys advising, two of the SolArks being paired together? Like, how do you calculate or deal with that size of a load when you're helping someone size a system?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, the first thing we typically ask an individual is, can you provide us with some utility bills, right? And that gives you a pretty good amount of information to understand just kind of what's the baseline electric usage. Another important question is, okay, you're in Florida, you're worried about a hurricane losing the grid. What do you want to back up? If the grid's down for 4 days because of a hurricane, you'll probably have a pretty good amount of solar power available, so that's not as much of a concern for us. But what are you concerned with backing up? And if they tell us, oh, I want to back up the whole home, yeah, we absolutely want to look at those electric bills. We also then start asking to go ahead and send us, nameplate ratings of any large appliances, things like an AC unit, things like an electric hot water heater or electric stove, so we can make sure that we are right sizing that system. A whole home backup, we're almost always going to recommend that you go ahead and do a stacked solution with our 12K. So that's at least 2 inverters. And then depending on the size of the home, what we're seeing as we're going through that exercise with the homeowner, we may go ahead and recommend more. And then we also try to understand how much battery capacity do you need, right? So in that circumstance, again, you can be as aggressive or conservative as you would like there to say, oh, I really only assume I'm going to need battery backup for a few hours and I can run a generator if I'd like, or I think the solar will kick in and cover me. Some people say, no, I want to have a large enough battery to get me through 2 days only on battery power. So based on that recommendation, we'll also go and try to start to recommend a battery size that makes sense for that customer's needs.
Now, your inverter that you guys currently have, there are many companies that make inverters. So my next question is, how does Solar differentiate from other inverters? What is the unique value proposition, or why would someone want to, use a Solar? I know you mentioned a couple of things of ease of installation,
Mm-hmm.
but what are there some other things that someone might say, hey, I want Solar because of this, or even let's do a part B. What do people think of Solar when they say this is why people use Solar?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like you alluded to there, Michael, we've discussed a lot of the technology piece, right? We're extremely versatile, so we can meet a number of end use cases. We can easily integrate with a generator, AC coupled or retrofit. You can really choose any battery that you like. We do recommend our battery partners because we know Fortress, for example, makes a fantastic battery. So certainly we have best in class technology, and we've kind of hammered that point home, I hope, over the course of this discussion here. But the other big piece that we do better than our competition is our people and the support that we provide to our customers. So you can call SolArk 7 days a week. You can get an engineer on the phone. If an engineer doesn't pick up in person the first time you call, we just ask you to leave a voice message. We will call you back before the end of the day. We have our engineers stay here as late as we need to make sure that we call and address all the needs of our customers that have left a voicemail or called us over the course of the day to make sure that they have power in their home and their system is functioning as it should at that time. Beyond that, we're more than happy to walk through any settings changes that you might need to try to optimize your system if you do have certain rate structures that you're trying to meet. We also have a fantastic technical sales team who will help you with designing and sizing that system up front and making sure that you understand all the pros and cons of our inverter. And we're very honest. If there's something that we feel like, hey, our inverter is not the perfect fit for this, we will tell a customer. We're not going to try to push our inverter just to make a sale. We certainly believe in energy security for the families that purchase our systems, and we want to make sure that when you purchase a SolArk, you are covered. You're not going to be sitting there fighting that piece of equipment to get it to do what you need to secure your energy. So it's really it's the technology as a huge piece and kind of one of our core pillars, but the other core pillar is our people and the care and support that we provide to our customers that purchase our inverter.
So you mentioned something, people, and I think sometimes a lot of consumers forget that we're all people and we're all trying to do the best for each other, and we're trying to manage our business as well. I have a question though. We've talked a lot about different markets. What about three phase? How do you handle three phase project in the light commercial space? How does Solar address that? What is the process for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, versatility. Our inverter is capable of providing three-phase power at 208 volts. If you're looking at a 480 volt project, something along those lines, we may need to use a step-up transformer, but we can absolutely address a three-phase system and provide backup to a three-phase system without issue. We can do it with a single inverter, as a matter of fact. We can also stack multiple inverters, which is usually what you see with the three-phase type of system because it is light commercial, so you do have increased power demands. But with a single inverter, you can back up a three-phase system. So our inverter is extremely versatile in order to meet those types of projects. So if you're saying, hey, I've got three-phase power, but I only have this small server rack that I need to back up, it doesn't use a lot of power, you can do that with a single inverter. So again, just that versatility that the one piece of equipment provides is phenomenal for any of those applications.
And as we begin to wind down here, where do you see SolArk in the future? What do you see on the horizon for you as a brand in this market?
Just continued growth, certainly in the solar plus storage space. I mean, I think that anybody who's been following this industry for the last couple of years sees the growth potential there, sees how many people are starting to become interested in batteries, especially as companies like Fortress develop better, cheaper batteries. But even beyond that, I see us growing into a manufacturer that you can rely on for your whole home energy suite. So being able to integrate even deeper in with the rest of your home to really give the customer total and complete control over the power, not only that they're producing and storing from their solar and into their battery, but then also using on the other end. So kind of alluded to it at the beginning here, and I can't give away too many details, but we have a number of exciting products that we are going to announce here in the coming months. And I think as we announce those products, our customers will start to see that we're growing and we're going to really give you complete control of your home's electric usage.
It's okay to drop an exclusive on the Security Energy Show. It's just you and I here. There's no one else listening. It's just you and I. So spill the beans. Now I'm just playing. I'm glad to hear that there's things on the horizon. At Fortress Power, we have a lot of things on the horizon, and it's great to have partners such as yourself to work with. And as you say, getting more involved with the home, being able to add more value. How does we didn't talk about this, but how does communicating with the inverter, what does that provide to a homeowner versus, so the term is closed loop versus open looped. What does that provide to a homeowner when they're providing getting an inverter?
Yeah, so like I said, we really like to recommend our battery partners. One, because we vetted all the products. Fortress, for example, we know you guys make a phenomenal battery. We know your warranty is top notch. We wouldn't want to pair our inverter with a battery that didn't have those features. The other piece of it is the closed loop communications that you just alluded to. So when you have those closed loop communications, you're actually allowing the battery to dictate to the inverter the best way to treat the battery, if you will, the charging and discharging currents that the battery likes, the voltage that the battery likes, what is the state of charge of the battery at any given point in time. So you're just going to get significantly more efficient operation and optimal performance to maximize the life of the battery that you choose to use with the system. We didn't really get into it, but one of the challenges with being battery agnostic is when you're developing a product that can be used with anything, you can't really optimize it for a specific use case on that side. So that said, because we are able to work with a lead acid battery that's very different than a lithium iron phosphate battery, we have to program the inverter in such a way that it can be used with both those types of chemistries. When we do the closed communications, on the other hand, Fortress has developed their battery management system to work only for that specific battery and work very well with that specific battery. So if you allow that BMS to dictate to the inverter how to treat that battery, you really do just maximize the performance out of that really substantial and extremely important piece of your system.
Well, Dylan, I thank you for coming on our show. I greatly appreciate that. In the waning moments that we have, is there anything that you would like to say to our audience, both live and replay? Is there any parting words of wisdom, nuggets, or thoughts that you would like to convey?
Yeah, no, I just, I think everybody that's tuned in, we love to hear from our customers. So please reach out if you're even thinking about going solar plus storage. We really believe in that type of scheme for families because it secures your energy security. You don't want to be in a situation where you find yourself in a grid that is unreliable or unstable. Just kind of speaking personally, I always felt really comfortable with the Texas grid. And I was proven wrong this last winter when the grid failed because of some really abnormal weather events that we're just seeing more and more of. So secure your, if you're thinking about it, you can secure your family's energy future, which is extremely important. And you can also do so by going green, which is fantastic. So we don't see a downside. And we just, we ask that if you're even thinking about it, reach out to us, have a discussion with us. We love to talk to our customers, and we look forward to hearing from anybody that's interested.
Well, Dylan, I definitely thank you for being a guest on our show. I greatly do appreciate it. And as you said, there's so many wonderful things happening right now in the solar business. And if you really are interested in going solar, give SolArk a call. They're a wonderful product. They've been a great partner. And I know there's new things on the horizon for SolArk and for Fortress Power. But I
Mm-hmm.
want to thank you guys, for everybody for being a part of our show today. And again, my name is Michael Gibson, and you're watching the Secure Your Energy Show. It's where we have real life conversations. It's where we have real life conversations with real life people. And if you would like to be a guest on our show, please go to bit.ly/Secure Your Energy Show, or you can send us an email to sales@fortresspower.com. The Secure Your Energy Show airs bi-weekly at 11 a.m. on Wednesdays. So again, if you would like to be a guest, please contact us. We're looking to have conversations about renewable energy, about solar, about all things that can help we call advance, this energy space. But thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Please share it out. And again, thank you for tuning in.